What is our purpose? Why are we here? Welcome back to another episode of The Way of Light, and today we'll be answering the deepest of all questions. Questions that have bothered us since we are little children. Right into the meaning behind our existence and the quest to answer the thirst of the soul and the truth that we all long for since we are little children. I remember one night from my childhood like it was yesterday. I was very little, crying so much in my bed because I was thinking about death. Why did God create me? Just to send me back to nothing again? Will there be anything after this life? Will everything just turn black and silent? Or what is the purpose really? It honestly saddened me. I was horrified, not knowing what would happen and having no answers to all of these questions. My mom heard me crying that night and she came into my room, tried to calm me down a little bit with half-baked answers. She didn't really have either, honestly. This longing for spiritual alignment inside of me was following me until into my 20s. And no woman, car, or anything else in this world would fill this hole sustainably. I was honestly just living by like most people. But then a twisting point happened. When I read about all the evil happening behind the scenes in the Catholic Church, then I finally opened up my heart and mind to seek the truth out sincerely. So basically I went on a journey to find all these answers to all the questions I had. I understood that this feeling or this calling inside of me is designed by God to find Him, and it will never stop bothering me until I arrive where I'm supposed to. Most humans will be looking to fill that spiritual disconnect with some kind of worship or physical pleasures, simply to numb this pain temporarily. And now listen carefully. Physical pleasure cannot relieve us from pain that is essentially spiritual. No worldly thing could ever fill this void, no matter if it's money, relationship, cars. Everything that's temporarily and worldly will never fill this pain. True fulfillment only comes with spiritual certainty and alignment. When you have all these answers that you were looking for since you were little, when you have sincerely sought and wanted these answers, then God starts to guide you into His light and gives you miraculously all of these answers, gives you certainty in the heart and strengthens your faith. What we have to reach is ultimate reality. Ultimate reality. That means we have to first of all forget everything that we are instilled to believe, and then we can wholeheartedly open up and sincerely seek the truth from God and ask Him to guide us into the truth, because He is the guide and He will never leave any one of us astray if we don't want to be. I peeled myself and parted from everything that I ever thought that I am. I was open for change. I wanted to be free and far from falsehood. I wanted to be free of greed, fear, lust, pride, and all these other bad characteristics of man. During this journey I found God, and I understood that my happiness only depends on my relationship with Him. Fitra, which is the natural thirst for God, I would say, followed me into my adulthood, and it would have never stopped if I would have not sought after these answers. Look, today I know that the devil is playing his games, and I know a little bit more about how he acts and tries to make being lost kind of like something nice. And the devil in my head was making it really hard to come closer to light because of all the falsehood they've built and put into my mind since I'm a little child. I wasn't able to see. But once I did open up and surrender to the will of God, it all came naturally. I was a lost boy, and if I had listened to my parents or most other people, I would have stayed astray. Thankfully, I turned inward and listened to myself instead of other people. And I learned to never place anyone's opinion above the opinion of the Most High. With that, I found a form of spiritual excellence that really can't be explained, but must be felt. By surrendering your will to God, you're not burdening yourself. You are relieving all these burdens off of you. But what does God actually want from us? Why did He create us? Why are we here? What gives us the certainty and this feeling of spiritual excellence? Don't understand me wrong. Believers can also chase Lambos and Ferraris, but materialistic things, they are merely bonuses and amusement, and they will never give us sustainable happiness. They will never give us answers or fill this void inside of us, and they will certainly not give us peace in the heart. Our purpose is another. If we have the entire world but do not find God and what He's asking from us, essentially we have nothing, and all of our deeds will fall to dust. Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, they offer all profound insights into the purpose of this life. They teach us that our lives are not just random, but deeply intentional, designed by a higher power with specific reasons for every one of us. And these teachings, they will allow us to create harmony within. That kingdom we already talked about. And if enough people create a kingdom inside of themselves, it will also reflect and be a manifestation in the real world, God willing. Now, let's narrow our focus to a few passages that God defines as true success, which beautifully also encapsulates our purpose and what we should strive for if we want to achieve true happiness and satisfaction within the heart. I will be using both the Gospel and the Quran to answer these questions. Surah Al-Shams is a powerful chapter of the Quran emphasizing the duality within all of us, our potential for good and evil, for success and for failure. In this chapter, God says the following. Actually, God swears, and He says, by the sun and its brightness, and the moon as it follows it, and the day as it unveils it, and the night as it conceals it, and by heaven and the one who built it, and the earth and the one who spread it, and by the soul and the one who fashioned it. Then, with knowledge of right and wrong inspired it, successful indeed is the one who purifies his soul, and doomed is the one who corrupts it. You see, by swearing by the sun, the moon and the day, God emphasizes the importance here. Nowhere in the entire Quran does God emphasize and swear more on something. And then, after swearing, He shifts to the human soul, explaining to us that all of us are inspired with an understanding of what is wrong and what is right. If we follow what is good, we will be rewarded with purity and thus unlock more satisfaction and happiness. But if we corrupt it, we are doomed to fail this game and end up lost and depressed. Now please, I want you to understand this. God doesn't need you. He only orders things that are beneficial to our own souls. And by following these orders, we are prospering as humans. We are increasing our light, our happiness, our satisfaction. We are increasing in bliss on this earth. And everything just becomes much more beautiful and enjoyable. And by neglecting these orders and constantly sinning and hurting our own soul, we are not taking away anything from God. We are only destroying our own selves. Now, similarly, Jesus also says in the Gospel, truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. So what does that mean, becoming like little children? How are these children? Just take a look into their eyes. Are they pure? They are shining. The children are so pure, you can see it in their eyes. And that's how our eyes have to become as well. And they will become like that if we are pure. They are not only pure in regards to sinning, they are also pure in regards to all the bad characteristics of man. They have nothing that's evil on them. There's one nice quote by Al-Ghazali that says, desires make slaves out of kings, and patience makes kings out of slaves. It is our task to control our own animal selves and just excel into the light. You understand? Peel yourself of all these bad things. Win over your own animalistic self. Learn how to self-control and grow into light. Here really lies one of the main points of our purpose. The human species is very special. It has been given a reason and choice. All other species just follow God's command. And I want you to think about humans as both angels and kettles. Both live within us. We are created with the capacity to distinguish between right and wrong. And our mission is to purify the soul to the point where our spirit can shine. Because the heart, that is kind of like a glass house for the Holy Spirit, is pure and healthy. And if we cover this glass house with too much dirt, then the light that we already talked about, the Holy Spirit, it cannot shine. And we will not be guided, we will be lost, we will be depressed, and we are doomed to fail this test. If we allow our animalistic selves to take control over our true selves, then we have lost. We make that glass house so dirty that the light simply cannot shine, and we lose God's compass for success. And therefore, we become even worse than the kettle, as God says in the Quran. And we don't want that, right? We want to be among the angels, among the successful, and merely following desires and trying to numb this pain with actions that will only increase it makes no sense. Does it? As humans, we have the power to overcome everything and anything and all addictions. We have to teach ourselves self-control. I have been in the darkest of all places, and God has guided me back into light. So never lose hope. We are responsible for elevating our spiritual lives. By choosing what's good over what's bad every time of the day, we are only increasing in light and in satisfaction. This practice of purification will ignite your Holy Spirit to a point where you won't feel the same anymore. You will be like a complete another person, and the people around you will recognize it. You will shine so much brighter, you will have so much more energy, you will be so much more fueled, and you will just feel unstoppable. Your aura will be contagious, trust me. But purification is not the only thing we are here for. Moreover, God says following: He is the one who created death and life in order to test which of you is best in deeds, and He is the Almighty, all-forgiving. Which basically means, yes, you do have a big responsibility towards your own soul and keeping it healthy, but you also have a big responsibility towards your peers and other people and doing good in this world. Compete with other people not only in materialistic and worldly things, compete with them in good deeds. Who will have the largest amount of good deeds on the day of judgment? And the final quote that I want to mention out of the Quran is that God says, He did not create jinn and humans except to worship Him. Now, worship can be any action, whether inwardly or outwardly, that pleases God. The ritual prayer is a whole nother topic, but worshipping is a very, very broad term. And whether you're purifying yourself for the sake of God or giving back to the world in some form or the other, or even your sleep with the right intention can be turned into worshipping. I just want you to understand, everything that you do for God can be a worship, and everything that you do for someone else than God will fall to dust on the day of judgment. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Are we all just here for the same reason, only to purify ourselves? I mean, yes, this is what true success looks like, even if you achieve nothing during this life for yourself. So basically, yes, that is our common purpose here as humans, to worship God and to find Him and to recognize Him. But we are also created in our own and unique manners. God also tells us about that. Everyone acts according to his own manners. We all have kind of a definite purpose and a role to fulfill. God has not created us. He has made every one of us individually perfect, and every one of us has his own skills, his own talents, his own strengths, his own character, and his own manners. And it is ours to figure out what that task is. And that comes with deep self-understanding. But this is a topic for another video. Today we will not be going into self-understanding so much. I just want you to understand that you don't only have to go pray and only do this and that. You can also go to work. In an ideal world, all of our jobs would be pleasing to God and beneficial to humanity. So get to know yourself, what you love doing, how you can benefit others with what you love doing already, and then make a career out of it, God willing. Today we have all the tools. People are living from teaching people how to make backflips. Just make sure that you keep your earnings lawful. Don't sell your soul, your ass, and whatever to the devil. Sell your body for $15 a month to some random guy that cannot find a wife. Please. All these women OnlyFans, I'm calling you out. Please, please come to senses. I can't believe what's happening today. The normalization of everything. How can this be normal? That you are selling your body, your everything that God gave you. You're selling it for a few bucks on the internet. Like, are you kidding me? How we treat ourselves, others, how we contribute to this world, whether it's through acts of kindness, seeking knowledge, spreading knowledge, or working towards justice and peace, all can be acts of worship with the right intention. Simply talking about God and His prophets and mentioning Him in your circles, it's a great act of worship and it really enlightens your Holy Spirit. And these sessions with your friends, family members, when you mention God, they become so much better than talking about random stuff all the time. I mean, you can repeat the same topic 100 times and it will never get boring. And I know that not many people are there yet. Many people just simply try to avoid talking about God completely. They have lost faith, they have lost purity, they are simply so lost that they cannot be in the circles of the righteous. And if you are among those people, then I highly suggest you go somewhere into the forest, seek solitude, don't come out of the forest for 1 week, bring food and water with you and start pondering over the miracles and forget a little bit about this world so that you can clear your mind of all the trash that you have been filled with. Try to regain your heart back. Try to unlock it. It's probably sealed. Verily, in the remembrance of God do hearts find satisfaction. From prophets to regular people like you and me, history is filled with examples of individuals who aligned with God's calling by applying these divine principles to their lives. If we are pure and sincere, we will be guided and receive strength beyond what we thought possible. So many people struggle to find the purpose of life because they are constantly wandering in distraction. For most parts of the day, they are typing on their phones and are distracted. I mean, they're never really conscious and especially not of God. Aligning and stepping into God's highest plan for you requires a new you. Another you on another level. And that is a journey that requires introspection, patience, and often also some leap of faith. Taking action even if you don't exactly know where you will end, and simply trusting and surrendering to God's plan. And if you are among those people who really don't have focus on who have allowed their phones to take over their minds, then I highly suggest you start with a little bit of meditation and sitting in silence daily for 15-20 minutes just to regain back your mind and to regain back your capacity to think and to understand. Because the answers to many of these questions that we have, often they lie within. And they do point us towards our unique roles in this grand design that we call world. And silence is the garden of thought. So you better make sure that you get as many distractions out of the way so that you can find yourself in silence. The core you, who you were before your parents made you a Jew, a Christian, and before your circles led you astray and made you believe that having the most buttons on the table is the best thing that a man can achieve. Oh my goodness. Remember, if you obey most of those upon the earth, they will mislead you from the way of God. They follow not except assumptions, and they are not but misjudging. Look, the universe is vast, yet intrinsically connected. Our souls were created out of one soul. And just as every element of the nature has its own purpose, so do we. By fulfilling our collective and individual purposes, we contribute to the harmony of this universe, and thus we can create a paradise together. We are all just dust and little ants in this world, and similarly to ants, we can't do nothing alone. But ants, they do build cities together. So we as humans should also be able to create not only cities, but kingdoms together. Peaceful kingdoms, God willing. So to wrap everything up a little bit, Abrahamic religion teaches us that our purpose is very simple: to worship and serve the Creator and His creation. And with the right intention, almost anything can be turned into worship. The verses in Surah Al-Shams remind us of the constant struggle between good and evil, between our angelic selves and between our ego, or the animalistic self. And if you remember one thing from today, then that your ego is among your greatest enemies. Don't listen to it. And that struggle is what we call jihad. Jihad just means struggle or strife. And the fight within our own selves will last until the end. And that is the true struggle, the greatest struggle of two different struggles. There's one small struggle, which is, for example, when you have to go kill Netanyahu, and there is the struggle with the own self to not sin and to be the best version of yourself. God is the pure and He wants you back pure. And in that pure state, you will reach everything so much easier, and it will be so much more beautiful for you to enjoy this life called world. So as you continue your journey, please reflect on these teachings. Seek and desire more truth with an open heart and mind, and remember that your life has meaning far beyond the surface. You are part of something much greater, and your actions can make a lasting impact on the world and contribute to the evolution of a much better world. The pure will be successful. Our animalistic egos and desires are our biggest enemies and stopping us from living up to God's calling and our greatest potential. I really do feel you, and I'm the first one to say I am not perfect at all. I come from the darkest of all places, and I know too well how Satan can make the sin look so nice and so tasty. So if I could manage to get back into light, you surely can. We simply have to acknowledge our weaknesses first, face our demons, overcome our fears, and win the war against our own selves first and foremost. It is a process of learning to tame that beast inside and eventually end up in bliss and perfection. But there's nothing like being in control of one's own desires, being pure and connected with everything and everyone, feeling oneness and pure love. As I said, this spiritual excellence is a feeling that can't be described, but it must be felt and experienced. And once you level up, there's no chance of going back ever again. And with that being said, I hope you subscribe to my channel because there's much more coming. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, the King.